Hey, it's Alexi from Chillin' Bodom, and I am blowing it up on Capital Chaos TV.
You are number 666.
So growing up in Finland, how was the metal scene like when you were first getting into music?
Well, it was pretty much. Well, when we started the band, the metal scene, especially for a band like Chillin' Bodom, was pretty much non-existent. It was an underground scene, you know, the whole black metal, death metal thing, that the whole Scandinavian thing. That's pretty much what it was, and so it mid-90s or whatever. I mean, it was pretty hard to get a gig anywhere. So like basically anywhere you could play, you took the opportunity. Yeah, you never knew what was coming, but that's how you learn. Yeah. That's just the way it is, but. Well, I mean, I got into music like when I was a kid. Like I was 5 years old when I started taking piano lessons, and then I was 7 years old when I started taking, like I picked up violin. And I did that for 5 years, and when I was 11, I got my first guitar, and then from there the rest is history. Yes.
What has been, because you guys have been touring for at least over 20 years now, what has been your favorite country out of all the countries, even you can count Australia, wherever? What has been your favorite?
Well, you know what? It's really hard to pick just one.
Okay.
Because,
top three.
Oh God. Well, it changes all the time. Like it's actually true, you know. Like sometimes, let's just say, a couple years ago, we had the best crowds in Canada, for example, and sometimes we have the best crowds in the East Coast, like in New York, New York, and that area or whatever. And then or Japan. Japan's always awesome, and parts of Europe. Mexico's fucking rad. Like South America, people in there they're insane. Like they're just insane. So I love playing in there. But like I said, sometimes when you're used to having a good crowd in a certain city, and then the next time you show up, it's way more mellow, and you're like, what the hell's going on? But then the time after that, it gets better. So who the hell knows?
It's just hit and miss.
Yeah, kind of.
I know record sales are not the greatest and things like that, music downloading. How do you feel the music industry, where it's going? I mean, do you think that it's just going to keep getting worse and worse and worse, or do you think it could get better, or?
Well, I'm not a big fan of what's going on right now, but I also don't want to be one of those guys who just bitch and cry about it in the interviews. So especially when it comes to that, I really actually do try to look at the bright side, which is especially for us, being a band that's always been hard working when it comes to touring. I'd say that I'm not too worried about it, because we're gonna be fine. As long as we just stay out on the road, we'll be fine. But I mean, who knows what's gonna happen in 5 years? Who knows? You know what I mean? But it's a mess. The whole music business, it's a friggin' mess.
So before show, is there anything that you do to prepare yourself? Is there anything, like, do you listen to music? Do you just kind of wind down? Is there anything you do to prepare yourself for a show or get pumped up for a show?
Well, I mean, I do warm up with a guitar for at least 1 hour, or usually more than that. Because, I mean, when you think about it, there's not really anything else to do. I mean, I don't usually do stuff daytime anyway. So, I mean, there's that. And then, sometimes, depending on how I'm feeling, I listen to a lot of music, anything that wakes me up. So, a couple of Red Bulls if you need to wake up a little bit more. But, I'd say that lately, 5 years ago, I mean, I do like 2 shots of whiskey, just to not to get drunk, but just to sort of like keep an even keel. Yeah. But I don't do that shit. But I'll have a Red Bull instead. Okay. Yeah.
Is there some of my favorites that have been on the album are I Love Morgan, I Worship Case is a good one. I forget the name. It's Prayer to And
Definitely.
yes, that one's a good one. I really like that one. What is one? Is there a favorite on the album that's like your personal favorite?
Well, that changes a lot too. Like, well, the ones you just mentioned, that they're definitely my favorites. And from maybe one song which is not like the obvious pick would be the second to last track, which is All for Nothing. And that's it. It's the slow song, and it's got a different vibe, and it's pretty much different from anything that we have done in the past. So, but I think we pulled it up pretty well. So.
Now the artwork. I know you guys always usually have like the Reaper on the front. Is it the same artist that did your previous albums that did this album?
He's done the guy who did this album. I think he's done one before, and then that's it. So we pretty much have like rotated like the same dudes that. So I think there's like 2 dudes who've done like at least 5 albums, and then before that it was. I'm not even sure if it was up to us. Well, to if we got to actually pick who would do it, So, but yeah, I love the artwork on the new one for sure. Yeah, and it gets hotter and hotter when you think about it on every single level. Okay, that's our studio album, number 9. So musically, I can't even think. When I start writing, I have to block everything out of my mind. And same thing with the album cover. It's like, okay, you get the Reaper, but we don't want to repeat what we had done before. Yeah. But also, we've always been very fond of the one color theme sort of thing, so because it sticks
Yellow,
out.
yeah.
And we finally got the yellow, like we actually pulled it off. So
Yes.
I think it's pretty cool.
Now, this is the 9th studio album, and then you were talking about, you have to you just mentioned when you're writing and stuff, is it get super harder and harder each time writing a new album, like with writer's block and things like that?
Well, yes and no. I'd say that the more I think about it, the harder it gets. It's just, I've actually learned how to just block the whole world out of my mind when I have to start writing. So I'm like a recluse when I start writing songs, and I like the rest of the world does not exist to me anymore. Because I know myself well enough to say that I would just end up thinking about like what the fans want to hear, what what I mean, like how to please everybody. That's just what people do. But that's not what you're supposed to do when you're writing music. You just have to write what sounds awesome to yourself, and not try to get too clever with it, and also just consciously do something different. You do what you do, and then you hope for the best. I mean, I know it sounds too simple, but yeah.
Makes sense. Okay, so for everyone that's watching out there, do you have anything to say, anyone?
Hi.
Besides hi. I mean,
Yeah, just thank you for everybody who's bought our albums and supported the band, showed up to the shows. Love you, and we'll see you soon on the road.
You are number 666.